is a strategic leadership advisor, business mentor, and inviter lecturer. After more than 25 years working in large companies, she now supports entrepreneurs, decision makers, and leadership teams in achieving better results with less effort. Through her work with business leaders and her STAR program, Susana helps organizations grow with more structure, clarity, and healthier leadership practices. And that is why I am very happy to have you here today, because emotional management is not just a personal skill. In commercial leadership, it directly affects trust, decision making, motivation, team performance, and sustainable growth. Welcome, Susana.
Thank you, Eduardo. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
No, I love to receive my friends here, and you are a big fan, a big friend that I have. Thanks a lot.
Likewise.
Susana, before we go into the technical side, could you briefly introduce yourself and explain why emotional management has become such an important topic in your work with leaders and mentoring clients?
Of course. Well, I've been in corporate companies for most of my career. So for 25 years, I've been working within big companies in a very zigzag career, going from sales to marketing, trade marketing, product development, internationalization, brand development. So lots of different jobs in different sectors. And there was a defining moment, effectively. It was in 2015 when I had a serious burnout, about which I'm open to talk. It's not taboo. So for me, it's important that we can talk openly about these issues. And in fact, what happened then was that I was forced to stop. And during that period, I was doing more back office work, and I felt the need to understand why this has happened to me. So I went back and I studied a lot around leadership, around human behavior. And I understood that probably I had a leadership problem, a leadership challenge, and that had a lot to do with my capacity to manage my emotions. Not only with my team, but with myself internally. And so I started studying also emotions. And when I left the corporate world and I started working directly with leaders, I understood this from a very practical point. Most people are not very conscious about their emotions, and they let them get in the way of their, normal day and their normal work, their daily work. So for me, it was important to promote in these people some self-knowledge regarding their behavior, their emotions, and to develop some strategies to control it and to be able to regulate it. So this also comes from not only from neuroscience, which I'm studying right now, but also from the Daniel Goleman's emotional
Intelligence.
intelligence model, where he says, there's 4 quadrants. The first
Mm-hmm.
one is self-knowledge, and the
Yes.
second one, the most important one, is self-regulation. And then you have knowledge of others and regulation of others, which I call leadership. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that this makes a lot of sense, and that when you learn to know yourself, to know your triggers, and you are able to self-regulate, you become a much better leader.
I do believe in that, and well, I we share the same vision, and thanks a lot for sharing your personal expiration. I do believe it's not a good expiration when we talk about the burnout, and thanks a lot for your courage to talk about it.
You're welcome.
Well, you talk about the self awareness, you talk about the self regulation. Well, for sales leader, what does it mean to manage emotion before it reach its peak?
Yeah, it's interesting because emotion,
Mm-hmm.
for most people, we feel it, and it looks like something that is absolutely immediate, but
Mm-hmm.
it is a process. So
Okay.
first you have, situation, then you have attention, then you have your cognitive change, and then you have your response. And
Okay.
there's a quote I like a lot from
Mm-hmm.
Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's in Search of Meaning, one of my favorite books. And he says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In
Mm-hmm.
that space lies our capacity to respond. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. And I think that if we understand this as a staged process,
Mm-hmm.
we can manage and regulate our emotions in every stage. So first, situation. If we already know certain situations, certain places, certain people are
Mm-hmm.
triggering to us, right? We may start by deciding, okay, where do I want to meet? In what
Okay.
conditions do I want to meet? For instance, if I know that I'm terrified of a stage, for instance, to speak in public, I will
Mm-hmm.
try to do my speaking job without a stage in a place. Can we do it in a leveled room where I can speak directly to the people at hand? What this I'm talking about my personal here. I don't I don't like it. I don't like to be in in a stage.
Okay.
So if I'm in a big room but there's no stage, I'm much more comfortable.
Okay. For you,
So
the problem is the stage.
it's the stage with me. It's the stage. So
Okay.
uh, if I can avoid that, not be in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a room where you had a big discussion, and it's something that triggers you being in that
Mm-hmm.
room, you choose a different room, you know
Okay.
uh, or if you don't like to speak live because you are afraid, you ask for the podcast to be uh, pre-recorded. Not the case.
Yes.
Not the case. I didn't ask for that, but this is a decision about the situation.
Okay.
Then you have attention. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that many people do when they are in a situation where, it's triggering. They try to distract themselves a little bit, right? So they
Okay.
will try to think about something pleasant. They will go into their phones. They will do some exercise, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
that allows you. Of course, it depends on the situation, but
Of
you
course.
can try to redirect your attention and not be inside your head so much. And then you reach, because many times we don't control nor the situation nor the attention, so we need to be attentive. So
Yes.
you have the part of the cognitive change and
Mm-hmm.
your response. And here, like two of the most normal, most people, what they will
Mm-hmm.
do is they will try to suppress their emotion. They will try, to look professional and to swallow whatever they are feeling, hide whatever they are feeling. Either it is rage, frustration, fear, whatever, they will try to hide it. They will try to suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
And they will try to, look as professional as possible. The problem is that suppression is a very late staged response. So the emotion is already there. You are
Mm-hmm.
just trying to suppress it. The earlier you are able to control, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
the previous stage is called reappraisal. It's allowing yourself to, it's like looking at yourself from the outside as a
Okay.
third person, a second person,
Yes.
and to understand, to look at it from a more rational, analytical point of view. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling like this? And do I really need to? Can I change the way I think about this situation? Yes. Or
Mm-hmm.
example, someone in the team, in the sales team, made a big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
They sent the wrong table
Proposal,
or
for
the wrong
instance.
proposal to a customer.
Mm-hmm.
When me as a leader, when I listen to, when the commercial person comes and tells me, sorry, I did this mistake, I can either, start yelling or feel frustrated. I feel frustrated and I start yelling, or I try to control my
Mm-hmm.
reaction and I'm, cringing, but trying not to be, too aggressive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can, in my head first, think, okay, there's a mistake. It's an opportunity to see how we can prevent this in the future.
Okay.
It's if you reappraise the thought as this is a learning opportunity, how can we, this is a mistake that could happen to everybody, how can we
Mm-hmm.
guarantee that it doesn't happen again?
Okay.
So if you are able to do that before you suppress the emotion, if you are reappraising, you don't need to suppress anything, because in your
Okay.
mind you already changed the way you are looking at the problem.
Okay, I understand. Okay, but why can suppression be so damaging in a leadership conversations, especially when we talk about the sales team?
Yeah, it's very interesting because suppression was something I used all my life.
Mm-hmm.
We know, from the normal literature and from Daniel Goleman, we know that suppressing our feelings is not good for us. So
Okay.
it has impact in our physiology. We have higher heart rate, higher blood pressure. Why? Because we are, putting the emotion inside, suppressing.
Okay.
But recently, in the course I'm doing around neuro leadership, I learned something I didn't knew, that suppression has the same effect on you as on the person you are talking to. So they did research where they wire the brains of the person suppressing and the person that is talking to them, and you see that the physiological impact of higher blood pressure, higher rise in the temperature, and change from the part of the brain that is rational and that is focused on the solution, to the fear response, to the amygdala,
Okay.
and which damages directly trust and support, because the person is reactive, happens in both people.
Okay.
So
And
even
that happens through the mirror neurons?
yeah, probably
Okay.
they when you are suppressing what you
Mm-hmm.
are doing, even at an unconscious level,
Mm-hmm.
is you are mirroring.
Yes.
The other person is mirroring your physiology.
Okay. I understand.
So it's very interesting to understand that suppressing does
Mm-hmm.
nothing to help the other person. Many times
Okay.
leaders think they are helping others when they are behaving professionally and they are suppressing their emotion. But
Mm-hmm.
humans, we have very sensitive, subconscious, and we are picking all that.
Okay.
And that's reflecting on our capacity to learn and to trust.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Well, before you have described reappraisal as the ability to regulate the meaning of an event by adopting a more detached and analytical attitude. Okay, how can a sales leader use a reappraisal with a salesperson when you said like before makes a mistake, but imagine not a table content, but with when that salesman misses a target or fails follow up, how could you think he can reappraise all that?
Yeah, I think the first temptation, the first impulse
Mm-hmm.
of people is to blame.
Okay.
And blaming, doesn't solve anything. It momentarily it relieves the person who is blaming, but it doesn't solve anything, because people do not respond well when they are being blamed.
Mm-hmm.
You are activating their fear response, so they will
Okay.
be defensive. They will, try to find an excuse, or pin it in other person. So it's not productive.
Okay.
For me, reappraisal can be practiced as curiosity.
I love.
If we ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
we are immediately helping the other person not activate their fear response. We are activating
Mm-hmm.
their rational response, their rational
Okay.
thinking, and they will start looking for answers and for solutions. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of you missed this deadline, we ask, why did this happen? What
Okay.
happened here? What prevented you from reaching the deadline?
Mm-hmm.
Because all this is information. And if the leader reappraises it inside himself as, okay, this happened. How can
Mm-hmm.
I help this person perform better?
Okay.
How can I revert this
Mm-hmm.
situation and make this person want to become a better follower, better at doing follow-up, or better at doing whatever we want them to do. So using questions, using curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
it's a great strategy to guarantee that the other person is not, in defense mode and in fear mode, which obviously will not bring any solution to the table.
I do agree. I do agree with you. Let's go to another topic, Susana. There is a connection between emotional regulation and motivation, particularly the difference between reward based and punishment based leadership. Well, it is common to talk about the carrots or the stick motivation. Okay. In a commercial teams, pressure is often used as a motivation tool. Okay. What are the limits of leading mainly through fear, pressure, or even punishment?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and thank you for
Mm-hmm,
asking it because all my life, I
mm-hmm,
empirically and with my experience, and I led commercial teams also in my career. Um, I intuitively thought that a reward approach was much better or worked better than a punishment approach.
mm-hmm.
Uh, but I didn't have the evidence, the scientific evidence to support it. Now I
Yeah.
do. and and it was very very interesting during this course I'm doing to understand that what happens in your brain is completely different
Mm-hmm.
if you use the reward approach or the punishment approach. When
Okay.
you use the reward approach, uh, what happens is that it activates the hippocampus, which is the learning part of the and
Mm-hmm.
memory system of our brains. And what happens is that people increase their learning capability. They will integrate feedback and information much better, and they will
Mm-hmm.
be able to apply what they learned in
Mm-hmm.
different contexts. So it's a very flexible and relational memory that
Okay.
stays there. When you use the punishment approach, what happens is that you activate the amygdala, the fear response,
Mm-hmm.
and that shuts down the cognitive part of the brain, that shuts down the part that thinks. So
Okay.
what happens is that the person connects directly the action with the punishment. So they know, in order to not get punishment,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do this. But
Okay.
that's it. They are not learning anything new. They are not applying that learning to other areas. They are not,
Mm-hmm.
it's an item-based memory. So what happens is that punishment approach leads to compliance.
Okay.
Reward approach leads to increased capability, increased learning. So if you want a team to grow and to learn from their mistakes, you need to use a reward-based approach. Otherwise, what you are creating is a compliant team, and anytime the pressure is taken off, they stop delivering.
Okay.
So they are doing it only on a fear-based, and they are not learning anything. They are just avoiding the punishment.
There isn't autonomy and self initiative.
Yeah,
Okay.
they will not be proactive. They will not. They will be. They will not be innovative,
Mm-hmm.
because if they will be afraid that they will be punished. So they will
Mm-hmm.
not bring new ideas. They will not do anything
Mm-hmm.
except avoid punishment.
Okay. Okay. And well, according also with these topics, how can sales leaders frame objectives as rewards rather than threats?
I think it's really important that
Mm-hmm.
leaders understand that we are biological beings. We are not only our heads. We are
A
full
body and the
body.
mind.
Yeah, and we are everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very important trigger in our bodies called dopamine, and dopamine is basically our reward system. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you define an objective as a reward?
Mm-hmm.
You are especially, and this here we enter with the objective itself. If it's
Okay.
too high, because then you have expectations, and if the expectation is too high, if the objective is not possible, what will happen is that people don't reach the objective, dopamine will drop. And when dopamine drops, what happens is that your cognitive function is worse, your trust decreases, and you will probably perform worse, and you will lose confidence again, and this will be a vicious cycle. When you define the objectives in a way that they are attainable, difficult, of course, they need to be difficult. Otherwise there will not be a dopamine release, because we only release dopamine when we do hard things. But if it's attainable and we look at it as a reward, what will happen is dopamine, when you reach the objective, we will have a shot of dopamine. That dopamine will increase our capacity to do things better. It will increase our trust. And by that, we will perform better and reach even more difficult objectives, and so on, in a virtuous cycle.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important to define objectives as rewards, because that's the way you create a high-performing team.
Okay.
In the long term. If you are always saying, if we don't reach objectives, you will not receive your bonus, and so on and so forth, you are creating a vicious cycle, a punishment cycle.
Okay. So the idea is not saying if you don't reach the target, you'll be punished, but probably what could happen if you improve your behavior, for instance.
Exactly.
Okay.
If people see it as something attainable, and this is very important. If you recognize them when they do it, when they reach the objective, the hit of dopamine is even more reinforced.
Okay.
Because they will have a hit from reaching the objective, and they will have an extra hit from being recognized by it.
Okay. Look, this podcast is Stop to Sell. I love the pause, and one of the most practical tools is the ability to pause. Well, there is a connection between self-control and affect labeling, putting feeling into words. Why is the ability to pause so important for commercial leaders?
I think it's absolutely critical, especially for everybody, even in your personal life. It's very important to be able to, to pause and think, if you understand, if you are really listening to, and understanding the perspective of the other person, or if you are just, trying to jump in and give your arguments and your response. But now, again, it's very interesting to understand this from a biological point of view. What happens is that it's very simple, incredible. I think this is a low-hanging fruit for commercials, for commercial people, because it's so simple to apply, and it has such a huge effect on our brains. What happens is when you are in an emotional state, and when you feel it building up, you are in a very aggressive meeting, the other person is, pressuring you, or is leaving you very frustrated, or whatever. When you stop, and you pause, and you try to identify what you are feeling, and you put that feeling into one word, It's not, you're not constructing a book
Yes.
there. You are just labeling it with one word, frustration. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling anxious. When you put a word in it, what you are doing, you are activating your brain's braking system. It's obvious in the brain scans. When this happens, well, I don't want to get technical, but the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex gets activated, and that's our brain's braking system. So your brain immediately passes from hot emotional reaction to cold, rational response.
Okay.
Only by doing this, pausing and defining what you are feeling in one word is enough for your brain to stop the fear response, which obviously what happens when you trigger the amygdala and the fear response is that all the rational part, the cognitive part, gets impaired. It doesn't work.
Yes.
Because you are in fear response. It's running or attacking.
We are blind,
Yes.
emotionally blind.
Yes, emotionally blind. So this is a great strategy, and especially for commercial people, because they are in very difficult conversations many times, and just that pause is enough to create not only in you, in yourself, but also in the other person, because the other person understands you are thinking, you are listening, and that's absolutely critical for you to be able to respond correctly.
Okay. I love your insight. Thanks, Susana.
You're
Well, we are a body with a brain and with a mind. And we need to sleep. We need downtime. We need physical activity. So, why should leaders take this practice more seriously, thinking in professional way?
That's a great question. I was one of those leaders who thought that, I just need to work. I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for anything. I just, work, home, kids. That was my life before the burnout. And it was very, very curious, because when I went to the doctor, what the doctor said was, you need at least 2 days a week where you don't do anything except sports, walking outside, going to the gym, doing sports, and meditation. Those are the only 2 things you can do, and sleep.
Okay.
You shouldn't read, you shouldn't, occupy your mind with anything, no TV, no books, not anything.
Okay.
So what happened, and I did it because I didn't want the consequences of that burnout going even further. As you know, I lost all my short-term memory. So even if I wanted, I couldn't read a book at that time. And I followed those instructions, with a very skeptical mind.
Okay.
Why is this going to help me? I don't understand it. Why? And in fact, it helped me, and it helped me so much that it became non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. So today, for me, and I'm feeling it's been already 11 years, and I'm much better now, physically and mentally, than I was 11 years ago or 12 years ago. Okay. So what happens from a brain perspective is that, for instance, exercise will actively grow the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a kind of fertilizer for the brain.
Mm-hmm.
It will grow that, and it will grow the hippocampus, and it
Mm-hmm.
will guarantee higher neuroplasticity, higher cognitive capacity, higher capacity to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more than proved. For instance, being able to just do nothing, not because today people feel the urge to be always occupied. Like if I'm going for a walk, I need my headphones with a podcast because otherwise I'm losing my time.
Should stop to sell, please.
Listen to Stop to Sell. And that time where you leave your brain rest,
Mm-hmm.
it's the time where you have the best insights of your life. That's why most people say, oh, my best ideas come when I'm in the shower, or when I'm almost going to sleep, or when I wake up in the morning. Why? Because you are in a rested state. You are not with the screen in your hand, and you are not focusing your attention in something that requires your cognitive resources. So you leave your brain to connect things, ideas, and it will bring you insight.
Okay.
Which is absolutely marvelous. So what I think leaders should do is model this for their teams, because it doesn't matter if your company says, here we respect people's time, we order people to, our policy says at 5 you need to leave, and you shouldn't email at 5 o'clock in the morning, and so on and so forth. But then the policy exists, but if the leader does not model it, because people don't follow what you say, they follow what you do. So
That's true.
leaders need to model this. If the leader says, okay, this is the end of the meeting because I have, a exercise right now. This is modeling, not sending emails at midnight. This is modeling behavior. So not making meetings go until the evening or night. This is modeling behavior. So it's very important for leaders to model it, because it has a direct impact on yourself and on your team's productivity.
Okay. Well, we have already almost 40 minutes, so we are almost finishing. And I would like to close with a very practical question. If a sales leader is listening this episode and wants to improve emotional management in their leadership, what are 3 simple practices they can start using this week?
Okay. I would say, number 1, avoid suppression, avoid suppressing your emotions, and try to be earlier on that stage of and do reappraisal. So being able to, when you are starting to feel that emotion, reappraise what's happening, and substitute blame by curiosity, by asking questions. So that would be number 1. Number 2, if you are not able to, to do that because it's a too serious situation and you are already feeling that emotion, then you label it.
Okay.
Activate your braking system.
Okay.
So, just pause.
And the name.
Shut your mouth. And in your head, just say, I'm feeling X, anxious, tired, frustrated, scared, whatever, because you are activating your brain's braking system, and you will be able to substitute your amygdala response for your, normal cognitive brain. And finally, I think it's extremely important that you take care of yourself and that you model that care to your team, because
Okay.
we are humans, we are not machines.
Mm-hmm.
Every human to be healthy needs balance, needs to exercise, because we have a body. This needs to be exercised. They need to sleep. They need to eat correctly. They need to have downtime. They need to have connection time. So creating, the conditions for your team to rest, to recover, to be able to be, for instance, to create moments of connection within the
Mm-hmm.
team, like let's all have a cup of coffee and talk about whatever. So it's very important that those moments are engineered, that they
Okay.
are thought about, not just random.
Okay. Susana, thank you very much for this conversation. I love it. And one of the key ideas I take from today is that emotional management is not a soft skill. It directly influences trust, memory, motivation, learning, and performance. Sales leaders do not manage targets, they manage emotional climates, and those climates shape how people think, decide, learn, and of course sell. Lena, thank you for sharing your experience, your reflections, and such practical insights.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It was a pleasure, and
Mhm.
I hope this is useful.
I'm sure it will be. To everyone listening, thank you for joining us on Stop to Sell. If this conversation was useful, share it with your sales leader, manager, or someone trying to build a healthier and higher performing commercial teams. Thanks a lot.